Hi guys, let's continue with part 2 of the 38th Prelims Test Series 2020 from Vision IAS. Now let's start with question number 26. With reference to an initiative called Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action, which of the following statements is or are correct? Number 1. It is an initiative hosted under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Number 2, it supports the implementation of the Paris Agreement by enabling collaboration between governments and businesses. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. That is both 1 and 2. The United Nations Climate Change Conference 2015, that is COP21, decided that 2 high-level champions would be appointed by nations to facilitate this partnership with the ultimate objective to accelerate climate action. The high-level champions will, amongst other tasks, provide guidance on the UNFCCC technical examination processes, TEPs, to assist alignment with specific policy options, barriers, and priorities being identified through the operation of Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action. Hence, statement 1 is correct. So statement 1 is correct. The Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action was launched at the 22nd session of the Conference of Parties 2016, that is COP22, to bring the power of non-party action to the forefront to help increase the pace and ambition of climate action. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The Marrakesh Partnership organizes actions across 7 thematic areas, namely land use, in agriculture, forestry and other land use, water, oceans and coastal zones, energy, industry, human settlements, and transport. The overall approach is to anchor the objectives around the ambition and the transition towards a 1.5 degrees Celsius climate neutral and resilient world. It will use the following tools and mechanisms. Communicating with impact the work. Okay, communicating will impact the work of the Marrakesh Partnership. Strategic engagement via regional climate weeks. Technical examination processes on mitigation and adaptation. Tracking and reporting voluntary action via Yearbook of Global Climate Action and NAJCA portal. Non-state actor zone for climate action. NAJCA portal. NAJCA portal contains commitments of countries, cities, businesses, and international coalitions, including those that are part of the Paris Agreement. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 27. Which of the following correctly describes gyroscaping? So number A, it is the use of geotextiles to control landslides in hilly areas. Number B, it is a soil tilling technique for controlling weed growth. Number C, it is the integrated process of culturing fishes along with paddy crops. Number D, it is the landscaping process that reduces the need of irrigation. So for question number 27, the answer is D. That is, it is the landscaping process that reduces the need of irrigation. Periscaping. It is the process of landscaping or gardening that reduces or eliminates the need for supplemental water from irrigation. It is promoted in regions that do not have accessible, plentiful, or reliable supplies of fresh water. Periscaping may be an alternative to various types of traditional gardening. In some areas, it is also known as water conserving landscape. So, it is also known as water conserving landscape or periscaping. Drought tolerant landscaping. So, it is also called drought tolerant landscaping or smart camping. It emphasizes on those plants, those natural requirements whose natural requirements are appropriate to the local climate. So, it emphasizes on those plants whose natural requirements are appropriate to the local climate. It is different from natural landscaping because the emphasis in periscaping is on the selection of plants for water conservation, not necessarily selecting native plants. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 28. Which of the following statements are correct with reference to mangroves? Statement 1. Saline water is essential for germination and propagation of mangrove seeds. Number 2. The mangroves help in stabilizing and protecting the shoreline. Number 3. Global warming has helped the spread of mangroves in temperate regions. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So for question number 28, the answer is B. So the answer is B, that is 2 and 3. 2 and 3. A mangrove is a shrub or small tree that grows in coastal saline or brackish water in the intertidal zone. Mangroves occur worldwide in the tropics and subtropics, mainly between latitudes 25 degree north and 25 degree south. Mangroves are the only species of trees in the world that can tolerate salt water. However, they do not require salt, but they have adapted to tolerate it. They grow even better in fresh water, but salinity keeps out competing species. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. The dense roots of mangroves help to bind and build soils. The above ground roots slow down the water flows, encourage deposition of sediments and reduce erosion, thus protecting shorelines from damaging storm and hurricane winds, waves and floods. Hence statement 2 is correct. They maintain water quality and clarity, filtering pollutants and trapping sediments originating from land. With the ability to store vast amounts of carbon, mangrove forests are key weapons in the fight against climate change. Since mangroves thrive in warmer temperatures, they are bound to benefit from a warming climate. Global warming is acting as a boon to mangrove trees and aid their spread. Instead of being limited to their current homes in subtropical and tropical climates, mangroves are taking advantage of warming temperatures and expand into a temperate climate. There are reports that mangrove trees are now found at higher latitudes, such as the Atlantic coast of the United States. Also, mangrove species have proliferated at or near their poleward limits on at least 5 continents over the past half century, at the expense of salt marsh. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to question number 29. So, if President's rule is declared under Article 356 of the Constitution of India in a particular state, then the President can: Statement number 1. Declare that the powers of the state legislature are to be exercised by the parliament. Number 2. Extend the president's rule indefinitely with the approval of parliament every 6 months. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So for question number 29, the correct answer is A. That is one only. Article 355 imposes a duty on the centre to ensure that the government of every state is carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. It is the duty in the performance of which the centre takes over the government of a state under Article 356 in case of failure of constitutional machinery in the state. This is popularly known as President's Rule. A proclamation imposing President's Rule must be approved by both the Houses of Parliament within 2 months from the date of its issue. If approved by both the Houses of Parliament, the President's Rule continues for 6 months. It can be extended for a maximum period of 3 years with the approval of the Parliament every 6 months. So it can be extended for a maximum period of 3 years with the approval of the Parliament every 6 months. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. The President requires the following extraordinary powers when the President's rule is imposed. So, the President acquires the following extraordinary powers when the President's rule is imposed in a state. Number 1 is that he can take up the functions of the state government and powers vested in the governor or any other executive authority in the state. Number 2, he can declare that the powers of the state legislature are to be exercised by the parliament. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Number 3, he can take all other necessary steps, including the suspension of the constitutional provisions relating to any body or authority in the state. Okay, so now let's come to question number 30. Question number 30. Consider the following peers. Dynasty, we have one side dynasty and the another one are the founders. So the first one is Gurjara Pratihara. Nagabhatta 1. Number 2, Pala dynasty, Dharmapala. Number 3, Rashtrakuta dynasty, Danti Durga. Which of the pairs given above is or are correctly matched? So it would be C. The answer is C, that is 1 and 3 only. 1 and 3 only. Okay, so the Gurjara Pratihara dynasty was founded by Nagabhatta first in the region of Malwa in the 8th century AD. He belonged to a Rajput clan. Later, one of his successors, Vatsaraja, extended his rule over to a large part of North India and made Kannauj in western Uttar Pradesh his capital. Vatsaraja's policy of expansion brought him in conflict with Dharmapala, the Pala king of Bengal and Bihar. Soon the Rashtrakuta king Dhruva from South India jumped into the fight and thus began what is known as tripartite struggle, that is, struggle among three powers. It continued It continues for about the next 150 years under various succeeding kings with ups and downs. The Purjara Pratiharas, however, could continue to maintain their hold over Kannauj till the last. One of the important kings of this dynasty was Mihira Bhoja, 9th century. Hence, pair 1 is correctly matched. In eastern India, Pala dynasty was founded by Gopala, 8th century AD. So it was founded by Gopala and not Dharmapala. As the names of all the succeeding kings ended with Pala, this dynasty came to be known as the Pala dynasty. The son and grandson of Gopala, that is Dharmapala and Devapala, greatly extended the power and prestige of the Pala dynasty. Though their expansion towards west was checked by the Pratiharas, the Pallas continued to rule over Bihar and Bengal for nearly 4 centuries, with a small break. The Palla kings were the followers of Buddhism. They greatly promoted this religion by making monasteries, that is, viharas, and temples in eastern India. Dharmapala is known to have founded the famous Vikramashila University near Bhagalpur in Bihar. Like Nalanda University, it attracted students from all parts of India and also from Tibet. Hence, pair 2 is not correctly matched, so it should be with Gopala. In south, Danti Durga was the founder of the dynasty called Rashtrakuta dynasty, 8th century AD, so it's correct. The capital of the Rashtrakutas was Manyakheta or Malkhed near Sholapur. It was under the king Dhruva that the Rashtrakutas turned towards North India in a bid to control Kannauj, then the imperial city. And as mentioned above, it led to the beginnings of tripartite struggle. One of the important kings of the Rashtrakuta dynasty was Krishna I. He built the famous Kailasha temple at Ellora near Aurangabad, that is in Maharashtra. It is dedicated to Lord Shiva and is monolithic, that is made of one single piece of rock. So, pair 3 is correctly matched. Now let's come to question number 31. Which of the following factors can increase the resistance of an ecosystem against invasion? Number 1, available resources are higher than resource uptake. Number 2, species richness. Number 3, forest fire. Select the correct answer using the code given below. Number A, it would be 1 and 2 only. Number B, 2 only. C, 1 and 3 only. D, 1, 2 and 3. So the answer is B, that is 2 only. So it's B, that is 2 only. Ecological invasion refers to the process by which some particular species, which are better adapted to a given environment than are its existing inhabitants or activities, enter and eventually dominate an ecosystem. Some of the factors which impact the resistance of invasion are discussed below. The first one is resistance to invasion decreases when resource availability is higher than resource uptake, leaving resources for invading plants to utilize. Thus, ecosystems subject to pronounced fluctuations in resource supply may be more susceptible to invasion than systems with a more stable resource supply. It is known as the fluctuating resource hypothesis. Hence, option 1 is not correct. Native community collectivity. So next factor which impacts the resistance to invasion would be native community connectivity may increase biotic resistance to invasion by enhancing species richness and evenness. Communities with higher species richness have higher productivity and thus provide more resource competition. Hence, option 2 is correct. Extrinsic factors. So, extrinsic factors such as disturbances like fires can increase the probability of a successful invasion through several mechanisms. Disturbances may decrease native species abundances, decrease species diversity, or change community composition. Native species richness can significantly decrease with disturbance presence, while invader abundance and richness can significantly increase with increasing disturbance. Hence, option 3 is not correct. Now, let's come to the next question, that is question number 32. Which of the following statements are correct with reference to Eurasian Group EAG on combating money laundering and financing terrorism? Number A, it is a regional body of the Financial Action Task Force for the Eurasian region. Number 2, India is a member of this group. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the answer is B, that is 2 only. The answer is B, that is 2 only. The Eurasian Group on combating money laundering and financing of terrorism is a FATF-style regional body for countries of the Eurasian region. The EAG was established in 2004 and is currently an associate member of the FATF. The EAG became an associate member of the FATF in June 2010. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. The creation of a FATF-style regional body (FSRB) for countries of the Eurasian region that have not been part of existing FSRBs is to play an important role in combating the threat of terrorism and increasing the transparency and security of financial systems of the region. The EAG objective is to incorporate these countries into the global system on anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. The EAG was created for the countries of the Eurasian region not included in the existing FATF-style regional group and is intended to play an important role in reducing the threat of international terrorism and ensure the transparency, reliability, and security of the financial systems of states and their further integration into the international infrastructure for combating money laundering and terrorism financing. EAG brings together 9 countries in the region: Belarus, China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. Observer status has been granted to 15 countries and 23 international organizations. India is a member country. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The primary goal of the EAG is to ensure effective interaction and cooperation at the regional level and integration of EAG member states into the international system of anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism in accordance with the recommendations of the FATF and the anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism standards of other international organizations to which EAG member states are a party. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 33. So, question number 33. Consider the following statements with respect to biochar. Number 1. It is a carbon-rich porous solid produced by the pyrolysis process. Number 2. It can sequester carbon in a stable form, preventing carbon dioxide from organic matter from leaking into the atmosphere. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer is C. Answer is C. That is both 1 and 2. So the answer is C. Biochar is a charcoal-like substance that's made by burning organic material from agricultural and forestry waste, also called biomass, in a controlled process called pyrolysis. During pyrolysis, organic materials such as wood chips, leaf litter, or dead plants are burned in a container with very little oxygen. As the materials burn, they release little to no contaminating fumes. During the pyrolysis process, the organic material is converted into biochar, a stable form of carbon that can't easily escape into the atmosphere. The energy or heat created during pyrolysis can be captured and used as a form of clean energy. Biochar is by far more efficient at converting carbon into a stable form and is cleaner than other forms of charcoal. Hence, statement 1 is correct. In terms of physical attributes, biochar is black, highly porous, lightweight, fine-grained, and has a large surface area. Approximately 70% of its composition is carbon. The remaining percentage consists of nitrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen, among other elements. Soil degradation is a major concern in agriculture globally. To address this burgeoning problem, researchers suggested applying biochar to the degraded soils in order to enhance its quality. Some of the ways that biochar may help improve soil quality include: number 1, enhancing soil structure. Number 2, increasing water retention and aggregation. Number 3, decreasing acidity. Number 4, reducing nitrous oxide emissions. And number 5, regulating nitrogen leaching. Biochar also has the high carbon sequestration potential. Biochar has the ability to store carbon in a stable form, preventing the carbon dioxide from organic matter from leaking into the atmosphere, where it contributes to climate change. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Creating biochar actually reduces carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because the process takes a theoretically carbon neutral process of naturally decaying organic matter and turns it carbon negative. When plants decay, they emit CO2, which other plants eventually absorb, and the cycle continues. Biochar stabilizes that decaying matter and accompanying CO2 and puts it in the ground to stay for potentially hundreds or even thousands of years. This idea, with supposed enormous potential to help slow global warming, has drawn an impressive array of supporters towards biochar. So it helps in slowing global warming, and this has drawn an impressive array of supporters towards biochar. However, biochar is not a silver bullet, and aiding biochar into soils may obtain negative results, such as inhibiting plant growth and decreasing soil microorganism abundance and activity. The inherent contaminants within biochars, such as polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons (PAH) and heavy metals, may partly contribute to the adverse effects following application to soil, which has been extensively reported. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 34. Consider the following features. Number 1, appointment of governor. Number 2, integrated judiciary. Number 3, written constitution. Number 4, bicameralism at the center. Number 5, all India services. Which of the above are unitary features of Indian polity? So, which of the features are unitary? Which of the above are unitary features of Indian polity? The answer is D, that is 1, 2, and 5 only. 1, 2, and 5 only. The Constitution of India provides for a federal system of government in the country. However, the term federation has nowhere been used in the Constitution. Instead, Article 1 of the Constitution describes India as a union of states. The Indian federal system is based on the Canadian model. Unitary features of Indian Constitution. The first one is states not indestructible. The states in India have no right to territorial integrity. The Indian Federation is an indestructible union of destructible states. Next is single constitution. The Constitution of India embodies not only the constitution of the center but also those of the states. Both the center and the states must operate within this single frame. Next is emergency provisions. During an emergency, the central government becomes all-powerful and the states go into the total control of the center. It converts the federal structure into a unitary one without a formal amendment of the Constitution. Next is single citizenship. There is only Indian citizenship and no separate state citizenship. All citizens, irrespective of the state in which they are born or reside, enjoy the same rights all over the country. Integrated judiciary. The Indian Constitution has established an integrated judiciary system with the Supreme Court at the top and the state high courts below it. The single system of courts enforces both the central laws as well as state laws. All India services. The members, All India services, IAS, IPS, and IFOS are recruited and trained by the center, which also possesses ultimate control over them. Thus, these services violate the principle of federalism under the Constitution. Appointment of governor. Governor is appointed by the president. She holds office during the pleasure of the president. She also acts as an agent of the center. Veto over state bills. The governor is empowered to reserve certain types of bills passed by the state legislature for the consideration of the president. Hence, option D is the correct answer. So, 1, 2, and 5. Now, let's come to question number 35. In the context of ecology, which of the following correctly describes the Alley effect? Number A. Higher biodiversity in the transition regions of two or more biological communities. Number B. The strategic role played by flagship species in biodiversity conservation in a region. Number C. Production of biochemicals by an organism that influences the growth and survival of other organisms. Number D. Decline in individual fitness at low population size, which might lead to extinction. So the answer is D. That is decline in individual fitness at low population size, which might lead to extinction. There is a positive association between absolute average individual fitness and population size over some finite interval. Such a positive association may but does not necessarily give rise to a critical population size below which the population cannot persist. Alley effects are broadly defined as a decline in individual fitness at low population size or density that can result in critical population thresholds below which populations crash to extinction. There are a variety of mechanisms that can create alley effects, including the first one is mating systems, next is predation, next is environmental modification, and the last being social interactions, among others. As such, they are very relevant to many conservation programs where scientists and managers are often working with populations that have been reduced to low densities or small numbers. And ecotone is a transition area between two biological communities where two communities meet and integrate. And ecotone may appear on the ground as a gradual blending of the two communities across a broad area, or it may manifest itself as a sharp boundary line. Other factors can illustrate or obscure an ecotone, for example, migration and the establishment of new plants. These are known as special mass effects, which are noticeable because some organisms will not be able to form self-sustaining populations if they cross the ecotone. If different species can survive in both communities of the two biomes, then the ecotone is considered to have species richness. In conservation biology, a flagship species is a species chosen to raise support for biodiversity conservation in a given place or social context. It tends to focus on the strategic goals and the socio-economic nature of the concept to support the marketing of a conservation effort. These species need to be popular to work as symbols or icons, and to stimulate people to provide money or support. Allelopathy is a biological phenomenon by which an organism produces one or more biochemicals that influence the germination, growth, survival, and reproduction of other organisms. Now let's come to question number 36. Which of the following statements are correct with reference to the Ecological Dynasty? Number 1. They were feudatories of the Satavahanas. Number 2. They made the city of Vijayapuri, Nagarjunakonda, their capital. Number 3. They patronized the Amravati School of Art. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. That is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The Ixvaku dynasty 225 to 340 AD was a feudatory tribe under the patronage of the great Satavahana Empire that ruled the Andhra region, the delta of the Krishna and Godavari rivers on the east coast. Their capital was the city of Vijayapuri, Nagarjunakonda. Hence statements 1 and 2 are correct. The downfall of the Satavahana around the 3rd century CE due to the internal skirmishes of its feudatories, the Abhiras, Trikutas, Vrihadfalayans, and the Salankayanas, in order to gain power, and the internal confusion rising due to such circumstances strengthened the hold of the Ikvakus. The Amravati School of Art flourished in the region of Andhra Pradesh between the lower valleys of rivers Krishna and Godavari. The main patrons of this art form were the Satavahanas, but it carried on even later, patronized by their successor Ishavaku rulers. This art is said to have flourished between 150 BC and 350 AD. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to the next statement, that is now let's come to the next question. Question number 37. Recently, the Ministry of Culture has taken up the project of reprinting of 108 volumes of Mongolian Kanjur under the National Mission for Manuscript (NMM). Mongolian Kanjur is related to the teachings of number A. Buddha, number B. Confucius, number C. Mahavira, number D. Adi Sankaracharya. So the answer is A, that is Buddha. Okay. The Ministry of Culture has taken up the project under the National Mission for Manuscripts (NMM) of reprinting of 108 volumes of Mongolian Kanjur. It is expected that all Mongolian Kanjur 108 volumes will be published by March 2022. Mongolian Kanjur is the Buddhist canonical text which is considered to be the most important religious text in Mongolia. Kanjur in the Mongolian language means concise orders, that is, the words of Lord Buddha in particular. The language of the Kanjur is classical Mongolian and there are 108 volumes. It is held in high esteem by the Mongolian Buddhists and that they worship the Kanjur at temples and recite the lines of Kanjur in their daily life or a part of their lifestyle as a sacred ritual. Almost in every monastery in Mongolia, the Kanjur are kept. let us tell you that the Mongolian Kanjur has been translated from Tibetan Kangyur. In fact, the Mongolian Kanjur is a source of providing a cultural identity to Mongolia. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 38. Consider the following peers. One side we have the tribe or community and the other is the state. Number 1, Rabari, Tripura. Number 2, Siddhi, Gujarat. Number 3, Tangams, Tamil Nadu. Which of the pairs given above is or are correctly matched? The answer is B. That is 2 only. The Rabari people are an ethnic group of primarily India. They are also known as Rebari, Raikas, and Devasi. They tend to be pastoralist and are in north, central, and western states of India, such as Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Punjab, as well as Sindh in Pakistan. Recently, the government of Gujarat has decided to constitute a 5-member committee to decide the rightful beneficiaries of Rabari, Barwad, and Charan communities residing in Barda and Alaj forest. Hence, pair 1 is not correctly matched. Now let's come to the next pair. The Siddhi, also known as Siddhi, Sidi, or Hapsi, are an ethnic group inhabiting India and Pakistan who have descended from the Bantu peoples of the East African region. Some were merchants, sailors, indentured servants, slaves, and mercenaries. Recently, Santaram Budna Siddhi, a member of the Siddhi community, became the first person from the Siddhi tribal community to be nominated to the Karnataka Legislative Council. Hence, pair 2 is correctly matched. So, for Siddhi, it will be Gujarat. Then recently, Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu released a book titled Tangams and Ethnolinguistic Study of the Critically Endangered Group of Arunachal Pradesh. The Tangams are a little known community within the larger Adi tribe of Arunachal Pradesh and reside in the hamlet of Kuging in the Upper Siang district's Pendem Circle. Tangams are now concentrated in only one village, Kuging, with 253 reported speakers. As per the UNESCO World Atlas of Endangered Languages 2009, Tangam, an oral language that belongs to the Tani group under the Greater Tibeto-Burman language family, is marked critically endangered. Hence, pair 3 is not correctly matched. So, Tangams would be related with Andhra Pradesh and not Tamil Nadu. Now, let's come to the next question, that is question number 39. Which of the following are the benefits of coir, a natural fiber? Number 1, high durability. Number 2, totally biodegradable. Number 3, absorbs the excess solar radiation. Number 4, reduces soil erosion. Number 5, natural resistance to moisture and microbial attacks. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the answer is D. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 also. Coir is a 100% natural fiber obtained from a renewable source, the coconut husk. Core geotextile is naturally resistant to rot, molds, and moisture and free from any microbial attack. Hence, it needs no chemical treatment. It has a permeable, natural, and strong fabric with high durability. It protects the land surface and promotes quick vegetation. It is totally biodegradable and helps in soil stabilization. It can dissipate the energy of flowing water, reducing soil erosion. It can absorb excess solar radiation. Hence, all the statements are correct. Now let's come to its recent context. National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency (NRIDA) has recently announced that core geotextiles will be used for the construction of rural roads under the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sarak Yojana (PMGSY 3). Geotextiles are permeable fabrics which, when used in association with soil, have the ability to separate, filter, reinforce, protect, or drain. These are typically made from polypropylene or polyester. Now let's come to the next topic, next question, that is question number 40. Although garment exports of Bangladesh fell in financial year 2020 because of the negative impact of COVID-19, yet it continues to export more ready-made garments than India. In this context, which of the following is or are the reason for low ready-made garments exports from India? Number one, the unit labor cost of production is higher in India. Number two, India has more than 80% of the market value of exports by large enterprises. Number three, higher turnaround time of Indian firms from order to delivery. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the answer is D. Answer is D, that is 1 and 3 only. Okay, so ready-made garment exports of Bangladesh fell 18.1% to 27.95 billion US dollars in financial year 2020 because of the negative impact of COVID-19. Yet it continues to export more ready-made garments than India. The reasons for lower exports of garments from India include: number 1, one of the major reasons for Bangladesh's competitiveness is that it is cheaper to produce goods in Bangladesh than in India. According to a study, the unit labor cost of production of cotton shirt in the United States is around $7, while the unit labor cost of producing the same shirt in India comes down to 50%, whereas in Bangladesh the unit labor cost is only 22 cents. Hence statement 1 is correct. According to the Economic Survey of 2019-2020, Bangladesh has more than 80% of the market value of exports by large enterprises. India has 80% by small enterprises. Ready-made garment exporters in Bangladesh therefore have economies of scale. Hence statement 2 is not correct. The turnaround time of Indian firms from order to delivery is 63 days. In Bangladesh, this turnaround time is far less at 50 days. Hence statement 3 is correct. It takes only 1 day for a consignment to reach a port in Bangladesh. In India, it can take as many as 10 days for a consignment to reach a port. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 41. 1 trillion trees initiative is an initiative of number A, Greenpeace, number B, World Bank, number C, World Economic Forum, number D, World Forest Organization. So the answer is C. That is World Economic Forum. 1 Trillion Trees Initiative is a World Economic Forum WEF initiative designed to support the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration 2021-2030 led by UNEP and FAO. 1 liter 1t.org, so that is 1 Trillion Trees Initiative 1t.org, exists to connect, empower, and mobilize a global reforestation community of millions, unleashing their potential to act at an unprecedented scale and speed to ensure the conservation and restoration of 1 trillion trees within this decade. Now, let's come to the next question. Question number 42. Recently, India launched an India Energy Modeling Forum. In this context, consider the following statements. Number 1. It aims to provide a platform to examine important energy and environmental related issues. Number 2. It has been established under the aegis of the International Solar Alliance. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer is A. That is one only. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is not correct. In the joint working group meeting of the Sustainable Growth Pillar between India and USA recently, an India Energy Modeling Forum was launched. There exist energy modeling forums in different parts of the world. The Energy Modeling Forum (EMF) in USA was established in 1976 at Stanford University to connect leading modeling experts and decision makers from government, industry, universities, and other research organizations. The forum provides an unbiased platform to discuss the contemporary issues revolving around energy and environment. In India, there was no formalized and systematic process of having a modeling forum. Even then, various think tanks or research organizations like TERI, IRADE, CSDEP, CEEW, NCE, NCAER, etc., have been consistently developing scenarios and contributing through modeling studies and analysis to provide required inputs to MOEF and CC and other relevant ministries including NITI Aayog. NITI Aayog will initially coordinate the activities of the forum and finalizing its governing structure. The forum would include knowledge partners, data agencies, and concerned government ministries. The India Energy Modeling Forum will accelerate this effort and aim to provide a platform to examine important energy and environmental related issues, inform decision-making process to the Indian government, improve cooperation between modeling teams, government, and knowledge partners, funders, facilitate the exchange of ideas, ensure production of high-quality studies, identify knowledge gaps at different levels and across different areas, and lastly, build the capacity of Indian institutions. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 43. Consider the following statements with reference to the Rowlatt Act. All the elected Indian members of the Imperial Legislative Council voted against the bill. Number 2, the Act allowed political activists to be tried without juries or even imprisoned without trial. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer would be C. It is C, that is both 1 and 2. So both statements are correct. Just 6 months before the Montfort reforms were to be put into effect, two bills were introduced in the Imperial Legislative Council. One of them was dropped, but the other, an extension to the Defence of India Regulations Act 1915, was passed in March 1919. It was officially called the Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act, but popularly known as the Rowlatt Act. All the elected Indian members of the Imperial Legislative Council voted against the bill, but they were in a minority and easily overruled by the official nominees. All the elected Indian members, who included Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Madan Mohan Malviya, and Mazhar-ul-Haq, resigned in protest. The act allowed political activists to be tried without juries or even imprisoned without trial. It allowed the arrest of Indians without a warrant on the mere suspicion of treason. Such suspects could be tried in secrecy without recourse to legal help. A special cell consisting of 3 High Court judges was to try such suspects, and there was no court of appeal above that panel. This panel could even accept evidence not acceptable under the Indian Evidences Act. The law of habeas corpus, the basis of civil liberty, was sought to be suspended. The object of the government was to replace the repressive provisions of the Wartime Defence of India Act 1915 by a permanent law. Gandhi, who had been at the forefront in offering cooperation in the British war effort and who had even offered to encourage recruitment of Indians into the British Indian forces. He called the Rowlatt Act the Black Act and argued that not everyone should get punishment in response to isolated political crimes. Gandhi called for a mass protest at all India level, but soon having seen the constitutional protest meet with ruthless repression, Gandhi organized a Satyagraha Sabha and roped in younger members of Home Rule Leagues and the Pan-Islamists. The forms of protest finally chosen included observance of a nationwide hartal, that is strike, accompanied by fasting and prayer, and civil disobedience against specific laws and courting arrest and imprisonments. Now let's come to the next question, question number 44. Consider the following statements with reference to hydroelectric power in India. Number 1. India has the second largest hydropower production capacity in the world after China. Number 2. It is a highly capital intensive mode of electricity generation but has low recurring cost. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is B. That is 2 only. India is blessed with an immense amount of hydroelectric potential. As per the assessment made by Central Electricity Authority (CEA), India is endowed with economically exploitable hydropower potential to the tune of 1,48,700 megawatt of installed capacity. According to International Hydropower Association (IHA), India has overtaken Japan, becoming the nation with the fifth largest hydropower production capacity in the world. So India has overtaken Japan, becoming the nation with the fifth largest hydropower production capacity in the world, with its total installed base now standing at over 50 gigawatt. behind Canada, US, Brazil, and China. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. So, what are the advantages of hydropower? Number one, a renewable source of energy saves scarce fuel reserves. Number two, non polluting and hence environment friendly. Number three, long life. The first hydro project completed in 1897 is still in operation at Darjeeling, is still in operation. Okay. The cost, number four, the cost of generation, operation, and maintenance is lower than the other sources of energy. Number five, the ability to start and stop quickly and instantaneously. Load acceptance or rejection makes it suitable to meet peak demand and for enhancing system reliability and stability. Number six, has higher efficiency over 90% compared to thermal 35% and gas around 50%. Number 7, the cost of generation is free from inflationary effects after the initial installation. The hydropower generation is a highly capital intensive mode of electricity generation, but being a renewable source of energy with no consumables involved, there is a very little recurring cost and hence no high long term expenditure. It is cheaper as compared to electricity generated from coal and gas fired plants. It also reduces the financial losses due to frequency fluctuations, and it is more reliable as it is inflation free due to not uses of fossil fuels. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Now, let's come to question number 45. So, question number 45. Khazan farming, a term recently seen in the news, refers to number A, an estuarine agricultural system practiced in Goa. Number B, a dryland farming system practiced in Telangana. Number C, a system of rice cultivation in the backwaters of Kerala. Number D, a shifting cultivation system practiced in the northeastern states of India. So the answer is A. That is an estuarine agricultural system practiced in Goa. So, khazans are coastal wetlands of Goa. Traditional khazan technology protects the agricultural fields and villages from salinity intrusion, inundation, and floods. Recently, it was reported that lands under the estuarine agricultural system called khazan farming are in a state of decay. Khazan dikes are built of mud from fields. Outer walls are protective dikes. Outer walls or protective dikes are very thick to sustain pressure of riverine water flow. A trench is made in between the two walls of the protective dike and is filled with clay from the fields, which serves as a cementing substance. The dike is covered with a layer of clay and mud from fields called as tharchupto. Tharkapto. Okay, it's called tharkapto. Protective dikes are interrupted by installation of sluice gates which connect an inner reservoir to the estuary. In this system, every bit of space was precious and used efficiently. The bunds were used to grow a variety of vegetables. The Khajan system allowed for the farmer and the fisher to harmoniously coexist and was the key to sustain what is considered Goa's staple, that is, fish, curry, and rice. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 46. He was a social reformer and nationalist from Maharashtra. He held the post of a judge under the British Raj but wrote for a weekly Prabhakar under the pen name of Lokahitavadi on the social reform issues. He advocated a reorganization of Indian society on rational principles and modern, humanistic, secular values. He wrote against the evils of the caste system. He said if religion does not sanction social reform, then change religion. Who among the following is being described in the above passage? Number A. Bal Sastri Jambhekar. Number B. Jyotirao Phule. Number C. Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Number D. Gopal Hari Deshmook. So the answer is D. So the answer would be D. That is Gopal Hari Deshmook. So Gopal Hari Deshmukh from 1823 to 1892 was a social reformer and nationalist from Maharashtra. He held the post of a judge under the British Raj but wrote for a weekly Prabhakar under the pen name of Loka Hitavadi on the social reform issues. He advocated a reorganization of Indian society on the rational principles and modern humanistic secular values. He attached he attacked Hindu orthodoxy and supported social and religious equality. He wrote against the evils of the caste system. He said if religion does not sanction social reform, then change religion. He started a weekly Hitechu and also played a leading role in founding the periodicals Gyan Prakash, Indu Prakash, and Lokahidawadi. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Bal Sastri Jambhekar, also known as father of Marathi journalism for his efforts in starting journalism in Marathi language, was the first newspaper in the language with the first newspaper in the language named Darpan. He wanted to build a society having a scientific outlook. He was one of those social activists who made continuous effort in generating useful and healthy consciousness amongst the common masses and attempted to educate the uneducated. Jyotirao Govindrao Phule was an Indian social activist, thinker, anti-caste social reformer, and writer from Maharashtra. His work extended to many fields, including eradication of untouchability and the caste system and women's emancipation. He is mostly known for his efforts in educating women and lower caste people. Next is Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was an Indian liberal political leader and a social reformer during the Indian independence movement. Gokhale was a senior leader of the Indian National Congress and a founder of the Servants of India Society. Now let's come to question number 47, that is, consider the following statements with reference to Global Forest Resources Assessment 2020. Number 1, it is released by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization FAO. Number 2, according to the assessment, the world has gained forest area since 1990. Number 3, Asia has the highest net gain of forest area in 2010 to 2020. Which of the statements given above are correct? So the correct answer is C. It is C, that is 1 and 3. Global Forest Resources Assessment 2020 has been released by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, hence statement 1 is correct. The FRA 2020 has examined the status of and trends in more than 60 forest related variables in 236 countries and territories in the period 1990 to 2020. So, what are its key findings? The forest area has declined all across the world in the past 3 decades. The world lost 178 mega-hectare of forest since 1990 and area the size of Libya. Hence statement 2 is not correct. The rate of forest loss has also declined due to the growth of sustainable management, highest loss and highest gains. Africa has the largest annual rate of net forest loss in 2010 to 2020 at 3.9 mega-hectare, followed by South America at 2.6 mega-hectare. On the other hand, Asia has the highest net gain of forest area in 2010-2020, followed by Oceania and Europe. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to the next question. Question number 48. This bird is endemic to a dormant volcanic island in Andamans and found nowhere else in the world. The island has been notified as a sanctuary to protect the species. It has one of the smallest natural ranges of any bird species in the world. It is classified as an endangered species as well as protected under Scheduled 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It faces the threat of extinction due to the habitat loss and hunting. Which of the following bird species is being described in the above passage? So the answer is D. So it is D, that is Narcondam hornbill. It's not Andaman wood pigeon, it's not Nicobar parakeet, it's not white-headed starling, but it is Narcondam hornbill. The Narcondam hornbill is one of the species of hornbill. It is endemic to the dormant volcanic island of Narcondam in the North Andamans and found nowhere else in the world. The island was notified as a wildlife sanctuary to protect the species. The Narcondam hornbill has the smallest home range out of the species of Asian hornbill and has one of the smallest natural ranges of any bird species in the world. It is listed as endangered because it is suspected that its very small population, which is restricted to one tiny island, consists of fewer than 250 mature individuals. It is also protected under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. The hornbill is predominantly frugivorous. It is predominantly frugivorous. Being predominantly fruit eaters, they play an important role in the seed dispersal of figs and other plant species. Figs are important in the ecology of many other insular hornbill species and are a major factor determining the distribution patterns of hornbills in forest. The bird face significant threats from hunting, logging, and habitat loss. Few years back, there was a proposal by the Indian Coast Guard to install a static radar on Narcondam in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. However, the project was not approved by the Environment Ministry. Andaman wood pigeon is endemic to the Andaman Nicobar Island. It is classified as not threatened. The Nicobar parakeet, also known as the Blythe parakeet, is a parrot endemic to the Nicobar Islands of the Indian Ocean. It is one of the largest parakeets. It is classified as not threatened. White-headed starling, also known as the Andaman white-headed starling, it is found in wooded habitats of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It is classified as least concerned. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 49. Solar Risk Mitigation Initiative SRMI, recently seen in news, is an initiative of number A, United Nations Environment Programme UNEP, number B, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change UNFCCC, number C would be World Bank, number D, International Energy Agency. So the answer is C, that is World Bank. So in June 2020, the World Bank has operationalized a solar risk mitigation initiative SRMI with $333 million for 22 African countries. The idea was incubated as the Common Risk Mitigation Mechanism by the International Solar Alliance. The World Bank Energy Sector Management Assistance Program WBESMAP, in partnership with Agence Francis de Development AFD, International Renewable Energy Agency IRENA, and International Solar Alliance ISA developed a Solar Risk Mitigation Initiative SRMI, or the initiative. It is supported by a stakeholders group that includes the African Development Bank AFDB, the European Investment Bank EIB, and the Kreditanstalt for Wederopbouw KFW. So the stakeholders group that includes are AFDB, EIB, and KFW. SRMI helps countries develop and implement their grid connected. So SRMI helps countries develop and implement their grid-connected and off-grid solar targets by mitigating risk inherent, like to solar deployment and to attract private capital. Achieving the global goals for access to energy and mitigation of climate change will require a quadrupling of present levels of solar photovoltaic generation in the developing world by 2025 to reach around 950 gigawatt. This represents an investment of more than $500 billion in new solar photovoltaic, that's PV generation alone. To reach this objective, large amounts of private funding will have to be unlocked to implement the limited public financing available. Thus, SRMI aims to support countries in developing sustainable solar programs that will attract private investments and so reduce reliance on public finances. This unique approach offers development and climate financing, credit enhancement for number 1, technical assistance to help countries develop evidence-based solar targets, implement a sustainable solar program, and maintain robust procurement processes with transaction advisors. Number 2, critical public investments to enhance the integration of variable renewable energy (VRE), finance solar park infrastructure, and increase access to electricity. And number 3, risk mitigation instruments to cover residual risk perceived by private investors. SRMI or SRMI has 3 components to mitigate the risk of solar deployment. The first component is sustainable solar targets. Supporting the development of sustainable renewable roadmaps with medium-term targets based on sound planning and resource assessment, and providing concessional climate finance blended with development finance and technical support to ensure that countries have the right enabling environment to reduce country risk. Number 2, transparent procurement, supporting the selection of private sector developers and investors in a competitive and transparent manner to address country and project risk. Number 3, viable risk mitigation coverage, developing viable risk mitigation coverage to cover residual project risk targeting solar, grid and off-grid and storage deployment financed and operated by private investors. Dedicated financing will be raised to support a technical assistance program as well as investment lending and risk mitigation coverage to implement the roadmaps. Concessional climate finance is expected to play a key role in new lending for grid infrastructure upgrades and the development of solar parks, as well as the support innovative risk mitigation coverage by leveraging the resources of development finance institutions. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 50. With reference to India's performance in the space sector, which of the following statements is correct? Number 1, India is the first nation to succeed in its maiden attempt to reach the Mars orbit. Number 2, India is a member of the International Space Station. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is A, that is 1 only. India's space journey began after Dr. Vikram Sarabhai formed Indian National Committee for Space Research INCOSPAR in 1962, a time when space, a scientific field, had emerged as the next frontier for human race. At that time, the United States and Soviet Union were leading the space dominance. In 1969, INCOSPAR was named as ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. ISRO built India's first satellite Aryabhatta, which was launched by the Soviet Union on April 19, 1975. Rohini became the first satellite to be placed into orbit by an Indian-made launch vehicle, that is SLV-3. India launched Mars Orbiter mission on 5th November 2013 and entered Mars orbit on 24 September 2014, making India the first nation to succeed on its maiden attempt to Mars. Hence, statement 1 is correct. ISRO became the fourth space agency in the world as well as the first space agency in Asia to reach the Mars orbit. The International Space Station is a high-flying laboratory that supports a wide range of scientific inquiry. The ISS consists of Canada, Japan, the Russian Federation, the United States, and 11 member states of the European Space Agency, that is Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. The proposed Indian Space Station would be similar to the International Space Station ISS, but smaller in size, weighing about 20 tons, and would take another 5 to 7 years to construct. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. So that's all, guys. See you in my next video. Bye.